All right. Welcome back, folks, to the FF Face-Off. This is a fantasy football podcast. Today, we are coming at you with some ADP risers and fallers. Again, we've said it on previous shows that this is where we start to see things really move and shake, really get a real good idea of where these players are going. So we're going to filter through some of these players, tell you why they're up, why they're down. And we'll probably talk some nonsense in between, maybe about the Cosby Show, because one of us is an expert on the Cosby Show. Yeah. If there's ever a Cosby trivia show in town, call Anthony Servino. He'll help you out. You'll win big. Anyway,
come on.
Also, I have my phone with you. Leave me alone. If you're watching on YouTube, or if you're not, go to YouTube, hit the subscribe button, like this video, please. Helps us out immensely. If you have any comments post-show, by the way, comment, because we will answer them. And yeah. FFPaceoff.com for your NFL, fantasy football, and sports betting needs. My name is Michael Hopp. You can follow me on X at the FF Realist. I'm joined by Steve D'Angelo, who can be followed at Fantasy Savvy. Steve, as by you?
Yeah, it's all good. Another day in fantasy land, and ready to talk about the movers, shakers, up, down, left, right, and get into it as we are. Tomorrow is August 1st, so
yeah.
We are getting very close. Tomorrow also we have the first preseason game, which is going to be fun to watch, even though, there's not going to be a lot of starters. It's still going to be NFL football for the first time.
It's like soft porn, but it's still worth watching. I'll check some of it out. So there you go. Also joining us, of course, is Mr. Pete Nova, who could be followed at Supernova38. As I always say, it's with 2 R's, in case anybody's looking for him. Pete, how you doing?
No, I'm doing all right. This is always like the weird point in the show where the introductions, like I feel like every time we jump on the show, I got to say something different on the introduction rather than just saying, what's up?
Well, I'll tell you, you really brought the energy there. You brought it there. That's evident. That's the excitement is streaming coming off the screen right now. All right, Anthony, you could pick it up here. Also joining us is the godfather of the FF Face-Off, the ever handsome, the ever wonderful Anthony Servino. He can be followed the real NFL guru. Anthony, how's by you, sweetheart?
I'm doing fantastic. Happy to be here. ADP Movers, favorite show of the week. ADP? What'd I say?
You said something
ADP
different.
Movers. ADPMovers. But it is my favorite show of the week. It is my favorite show of the week. Let's just get into it before I start messing up more words.
There you go. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, we're off to a rip-roaring start. All right, we're going to get into it. So, again, if you guys have any questions, if you're watching live, if you have a question about a player we discuss, or really anything about your own league, fire away. We will answer it. But let's get into it with the news. There's only one little bit of news to discuss. That's Mr. DJ Moore. He got his contract extension yesterday. It's 4 years, $110 million deal. I feel like every time a wide receiver gets signed, John Lynch starts to sweat a little bit more. So, yeah, I mean, nice move by Chicago to keep DJ Moore around. This was after he was acquired last year from the Carolina Panthers. His ADP has gone down a little bit, though, so we'll discuss that. Anthony, I'll go to you first. Any thoughts here on Mr. DJ Moore, his contract, and the ADP, which I'm trying to pull that up from me. I apologize. Down 4.5 spots to 46. What says you on DJ Moore?
A 27-year-old receiver. He finally had that breakout season last year. And I think the Bears, this tells us what their future is. Like, they want Rome Odunze and they want DJ Moore tied with Caleb Williams long-term. We know they locked up Cole Kmet last year. When it comes to DJ Moore, like I get Rome Odunze could be special, but we already know what DJ Moore can do. Last year, 9th in fantasy points per game, 136 targets, almost just over 1,364 yards, 96 receptions, 8 receiving touchdowns. So big-time season for him. Wide receiver 6 in PPR overall. This year, I feel like people are a little bit afraid to draft DJ Moore. I think it's a mistake. I get that they brought in Keenan Allen, who we'll get to in a little bit. They drafted Rome Odunze, but this reminds me of the Nico Collins situation in Houston when they traded for Diggs. They have Dell, then they had that Nico. They paid Nico Collins, That tells us everything we need to know who they believe the future and the alpha is. And I view this situation the same, especially now with this contract. I get Keenan Allen is here. This is going to be a one and done situation, just kind of how I feel about Stephon Diggs. And DJ Moore is the guy long term and will be the alpha barring injury. And DJ Moore, he has not missed a regular season game since 2020. So no real injury bug, and has been, again, last year super productive, but really in his career outside of 2022, a high floor player at worst.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it is nice. It was nice to see in Chicago him finally really break out this past year. Especially with the touchdowns and stuff. That was good to see. Steve, what says you on Mr. DJ Moore and his contract extension?
Yeah, well deserved. Always been a DJ Moore fan, and passed on him in the past for fantasy because the quarterback situations last year. Fields Moore was one of my favorite stacks. I think I had that stack more than most, and Fields missed a month. That kind of hurt Moore's numbers. They would have been even better, playing with Tyson Badgett. So, a bunch of 550 games, 540, whatever. So with Fields, he was just going off left and right. So, now Caleb's in town. So, you got Keenan now a little more crowded than last year, but I love DJ Moore so much. Second round is probably his highest price ever for him.
Yeah.
But I'm going in, not as much as last year, because I still have some questions about Caleb in his rookie season, but it certainly could be very, very nice. And DJ Moore is not like the type of receiver where you have to go downfield all the time. They're going to get him in the running game a little bit. They're going to throw a lot of screens to him, a lot of shorter routes. So he could and he's one of the best receivers after the catch. So he could certainly create out his own. Doesn't really need all those downfield passes.
Yeah. So
Anthony,
I know.
say something or no? No, Anthony.
No,
go ahead, Pete.
No. So my only thing, I actually look at the Keenan Allen, DJ Moore conversation similar to the Puka and Cooper Kupp. Now, Puka is obviously much higher priced, but it's both similar situations where you have a younger player and a veteran, where it's kind of a little bit more. It's not flipped in the sense that Keenan and DJ Moore were both good for fantasy last year, but Kupp is coming off the injury, and some people will. I've heard on Reddit that a lot of people prefer Keenan Allen at his cost over DJ Moore, but a lot of people are also preferring Puka over Cooper Kupp. And look, DJ Moore is a guy that's thrived, in bad quarterback situations. Keep in mind, Chicago was bottom 5 in passing attempts last year, and DJ Moore was still a top 10 fantasy wide receiver.
Yeah.
So I think those attempts go up where they'll at least be middle of the pack. They don't even have to be middle of the pack. Even 75 to 100 more passing attempts can definitely spread the ball around and should help with the bringing in of Keenan Allen, the loss of Darnell Mooney, right? I think that'll balance things out. And I like DJ Moore more than Keenan Allen. I'm trying to get DJ Moore everywhere I can. It could be just because I'm a homer for DJ Moore. I really like him. But he's been good, and he's had bad quarterback play everywhere he's went. Even last year he had bad quarterback play. So bad quarterback play and a bottom 5 in passing attempts last year, and he still was a top 10 fantasy receiver. I'll take that all day. And we did have a question in here about Rome Odunze. We have a lot of Facebook questions again, so we appreciate you guys in here. Avery Thompson, not a question, but he says Rome is going to be great too. I think Rome could be like a second half of the year guy if Keenan Allen, has some health concerns, and him and Caleb could grow a connection. They're both rookies. So I don't know how you guys feel about those guys, with Rome and if he could be, do you guys think he could be fantasy relevant this year? Or?
I think he ish in a way. I think he'll really take off after this year, because kind of like what Anthony said, as far as Keenan Allen, who we'll get to in a moment, most definitely he's going to be one and done in Chicago. So yeah, I could see him really taking off the following year, but yeah, he'll pop here and there. Rome Odunze, I think he's too good not to. Yeah, that's how I put it.
Yeah, it's too early for me. I don't think I'll have any Rome this year. Passing on him all the way.
I might be looking at him more in DFS.
I'll save my Rome Odunze take when we get into Allen.
Okay.
I do want to ask you guys, we'll roll this into Keenan Allen, but I just really quick, and Anthony, I'll just give this to you, and then we'll go on to Keenan Allen. DJ Moore last year had a 28% target share. We know we've had the low pass attempts, which Pete mentioned. Pass attempts go up, but does he still maintain that 28% target share with these other mouths out there now?
So Pete brings up, and this is where I was going to go when you asked me if I had something else to say, but Pete brought it up. He brings up the pass percentage last year of the Chicago Bears. They passed 56.3% of the time. Who's their new OC? It's Shane Waldron. And last year, Seattle Seahawks, they passed the seventh most times in the NFL, 64% of the time. I can say, I don't exactly love DeAndre Swift or this backfield. They put a lot into Caleb Williams and the pass catchers. And there's some similarities here. If we look at the Seattle offense, they were 3 deep at wide receiver, including JSN, a rookie, a veteran, and DK Metcalf. Very similar to what we have here. We have a rookie wide receiver people love, first-round talent. The veteran in Keenan Allen, and then DJ Moore, who's almost like, I like him a lot more than DK Metcalf, but you see what I mean with the similarities. So Shane Waldron has the pieces in place to pass it, top 10 in the league. And he did it last year with Geno Smith. He's going to do it with Caleb Williams.
We'll see. It's going to be mighty interesting in Chicago, that's for damn sure. And we'll shift over from one receiver to another. We'll go to Keenan Allen, who's actually up 7.6 spots, currently ADP of 71.6. Anthony, I know I just went to you, but you had a thought on this, and I know we're going to bring up another player next, but I'm going to give you the opportunity why you wanted to talk about this.
So when it comes to Keenan Allen, like DJ Moore, he's the alpha, he's the guy. The rest of this receiver room is where it becomes interesting. We had the questions about Odunze. We have Keenan Allen here. So I'm going to wrote back in Odunze. If he becomes relevant, it is because Keenan Allen either breaks down as he is entering his age 32 season, or he gets hit with the injury bug. Remember, early in Keenan Allen's career, he had a ton of injuries, and then he overcame them. 2017, roughly to 2021, didn't really miss a lot of time. Then 2023, 2022, really after he turns 30 years old, he plays in 23 combined games. That is what's going to trigger Rome Odunze, is if Keenan Allen gets hit with the injury bug. We are seeing, I get last year in fantasy, third in points per game for Keenan Allen. Almost 1,300 yards, 150 targets, 108 receptions. He is not getting that type of volume. Last year, Keenan Allen, there was no Mike Williams. Josh Palmer got banged up. He was really it. He was this entire offense until he went down. I view Keenan Allen as more of a supporting role player in this offense. They're committed, I believe, on a 1-year deal to Keenan Allen. Sure, they're paying the rest of his contract.
He's an unrestricted free agent going into next year. Yeah,
like he's going to be a nice piece. What I see teams doing, like Houston, like the Bears, they're trying to put pieces around. We're seeing this with Tennessee. Let's put everything around our young quarterback so he doesn't fuck up. Like, let's give this guy a lot to work with, because most first-round picks, let's face it, look at Trevor Lawrence in year 1. He had nothing. I think what teams are trying to do now, hey, if we're going to go all in on a number 1 overall pick, we better have talent there. Otherwise, the failure rate goes up. So I don't know. I'm out on Keenan Allen. I do not understand this ADP spike going up. Mm-hmm. I would rather draft Rome Odunze. I think, where Odunze is going versus Allen, like, give me the younger guy, because I am going to buy into the injury bug. And I hate doing that to players. I hate bringing it up. But it is evident that Keenan Allen, in terms of games played, has broken down since he's turned 30.
Yeah. Well, that Trevor Lawrence comment, by the way. Yeah, he had nothing, but he also had his head coach fondling women at the bar in his first.
I know. And DJ Chark was such an alpha.
That's right. He was. Yeah. Yeah. Still is. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway, before you get on a roll, Steve, what are your thoughts on Keenan Allen? It is kind of interesting that he's moving up because I'm kind of, I don't think he's whatever. I don't think he's washed, but I don't understand why he's moving up in ADP. What says you, Steve, on Keenan Allen?
Well, I mean,
right
if he's maybe it's just the Caleb Williams hype and this Bears offense hype, and everybody's getting really, really excited, and they just think Caleb's going to smash in his rookie year. And Keenan Allen he's definitely been an injury concern the past few years, but he still is a craftsman, still knows how to work corners, get open. Still very, very solid. But, like Anthony was saying, last year there was really nobody. He was just getting peppered with targets year in and year out. Just absolutely ridiculous. Was basically fantasy gold. So you're getting a value on him this year. But, I'm not really in on it. I just like DJ Moore is the only guy I really want in this offense, even though I got to pay a premium for him. He's a little bit older. He's got more competition now. Question mark still at quarterback for me, and then also playing now in a different climate, not playing in the the fruity tooty freaking LA climate anymore.
Fruity tooty, all right. Fruity tooty, fresh and
tooty, fresh and fruity.
That's
so
right.
I'm out. I mean, I love Keenan Allen when he came out as a rookie at a Cal, 4th round pick. And then he struggled with injuries in his career, but it says like I don't ever really end up with him on my teams.
Yeah, Pete, you can comment, but I gotta get up and do something for Mr. William Stevenson, who's commenting here. So good.
All right. No, I'm with you guys. I think if Keenan Allen's ADP drops a little bit, I might be okay taking him. It really just depends on where he's going and what my team looks like. But all right, we have a couple of questions here. Some of them that we can just rattle off real quick before we get to the next player. Wesley Wallace says Marvin Harrison Jr.
Anthony's so confused. Just read the comment, Anthony.
Wesley Wallace Jr. is in here. We appreciate it. He says Marvin Harrison Jr. this year. Quick thought for me, I think he's a little overpriced. Quick thoughts from any of you guys on Marvin Harrison Jr. at the moment?
I don't think he's overpriced, only because I think if Kyler Murray is healthy for the whole year, he's going to get peppered with targets. I'm buying into the ADP. I'm cool with it.
Okay. Steve,
Steve, go first.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, he's going to have to pay off for where he's going. I mean, first round, early second round. But yeah, I mean, I love his talent, and he's playing with a very, very good quarterback there. So the competition around him, I'm not really, too thrilled with besides McBride. So yeah, I kind of like it. I kind of like going after that Harrison Murray stack in some spots.
Mm-hmm. A lot of best ball. I got that.
Yeah.
Did we have any other questions or no?
I was going to say no. Before we move off, just on DeAndre Hopkins, on Marvin Harrison Jr. If we go back to 2020, that was the first year that DeAndre Hopkins played in Arizona, right, with Kyler Murray. DeAndre Hopkins was the 5th best receiver in points per game, targeted 160 times. Hopkins, really, and even has not been healthy since then, obviously, during his final few years with Arizona. Kyler Murray has never really had that type of a talent, and we don't know how he's going to be in the NFL, but we believe that Marvin Harrison is a DeAndre Hopkins type of talent. So, yeah, I'm going to buy in. The overvalued rookie is Malik Nabers because of that situation. So if I'm paying up, I will roll the dice on DeAndre Hopkins because he has the quarterback in place, and we know that everything. Kyler's a running quarterback, gets hurt all the time. When that 2020 season, DeAndre Hopkins. You mean
you'll roll the dice on Marvin Harrison?
Yeah. What did I say?
You keep you keep interchanging.
Because
Hopkins
I'm looking at Hopkins. I'm looking at Hopkins numbers.
No, I get it. Spoiler alert: we're talking about DeAndre Hopkins next. But go ahead.
Well, all right. So I just want to rattle because we got a couple more questions in here. And the last thing I'd say on Harrison is I think he's got a high wide receiver 2 floor. It's hard for me to be super high on a rookie. I prefer some other guys at his cost. But that's just me. I like Marvin Harrison Jr. I think he's going to have a high floor. I just don't know what the ceiling is going to be, and as a rookie, so I prefer taking a chance on some other guys. Let's see what else. This one's quick and easy. Bob Brinney says, who do you think will be the best running back and wide receiver this season for fantasy? I'll let Steve just take this one, and then we can all kind of move on to the next one.
Sure.
I mean, if I had to pick one, I'd probably stay pretty to the chalk and just say CMC again. But again, we talked about this on Monday. Bijan and Brees, I could also see as well stepping into that, a little bit of an outside chance maybe for Barkley or Taylor, maybe Gibbs with a Montgomery injury. As far as receiver, I think, for me, it's Tyreek. I mean, I think he's just, to me, he's the most explosive player in the NFL. So once again, I think Tyreek would be my number one pick if I had to pick one guy.
Okay. Interesting. We kind of covered this. Gavin came in and said, who's going to have a better fantasy season, Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors? I think the consensus around all of us is we all think Marvin Harrison. Johnny Johnson in here with a question about his keeper league. I'll let Hoff answer this one. He said, I'm in a three keeper league, 12 person PPR. Do I keep my best three, McCaffrey, Mahomes, and CeeDee Lamb? Not much else context. Not much context outside of that. I think that's a pretty easy one for you, though.
I don't even care whoever else is on your roster. I would say yes, because I have all three of those players ranked number one at their positions this year. So yeah, I think you're sitting pretty.
Perfect. This is an interesting one too, Monty Harry, and whoever feels they want to answer this one. It says, what stats do you give the most weight to when valuing running backs and wide receivers to draft? What stats best predict winners? So yeah, maybe Anthony. He seemed like
I saw Anthony perk up there.
For running backs, and this is a stat you can find over at Player Profiler, and I believe at Fantasy Points, it's weighted opportunity. And what that metric does, it gauges running back carries and also target opportunities. And I usually, when you get a back that is using that type of a volume situation, you want to chase volume in fantasy football more so than touchdowns. And that wide receiver, I don't like it. Air yards and yards per route run, they are usually the two most predictive. And obviously, you want guys that are hyper targeted, but those fuck you in the air yards.
I was just laughing because we had a whole fucking argument months ago about the air yards thing, but
I don't agree with it.
Here we go.
But it's a predictive metric.
I don't like air yards either. I'm not a big
That's
air
fine.
Yards
I like yards that count. I like yards that count.
John is in here, fantasy guy John. He's got some content going on. I know he's got a YouTube as well. I'm sure Anthony's I know I called him fantasy guy. I meant to say fantasy analyst. He said, would you trade DJ Moore away to acquire Xavier Worthy in a mid-3? I would say no.
Nope.
I'd be keeping DJ Moore.
No.
Especially after watching that clip of Xavier Worthy getting thrown around like a fucking ragdoll practice today. I get it. You're not supposed to take a lot away from training camp, but didn't look good. Tank
Dell he's small as shit too, and he had a really good year in the NFL.
I'm just saying, Worthy looked like me out there. Like he jogged to one guy, got thrown on the ground. He went to the other guy, got thrown on the ground again. Yeah,
I gotta look that up real quick.
But just all jokes aside, even without that clip, no, I wouldn't do that trade.
I would say no.
Off the weed.
That's what I'll tell you, John.
But is there a path for Worthy? Obviously Marquise Brown's on a 1-year deal. We anticipate Rice getting suspended next year, or at least many of us do. So yeah, there's a path for Worthy. But Worthy also, if he's drawing comps, like you bring up Tank Dell, there's a lot of guys that size with all that speed. Remember John Ross? How'd that work out?
Yeah, but I mean, when I look at Worthy, he's a good route runner too. Ross is more like a straight line guy.
Yeah.
The one concern I would have with Worthy is how long did it take Rashee Rice to get involved into the offense? It's probably going to take Worthy a little while as well. So it might be a slow start for him. But yeah, I mean, if there's a suspension or something, then he could step in sooner.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that deal.
But I do like Worthy a lot.
Give me the guy that just got $100 million extension from his team.
Yeah.
That's my best answer for you. A guy that's established, done it well. He just got paid $100 million. That's enough for me. He's the third highest paid receiver, I think, in the NFL.
That'd be
my quick. All right, we got a couple more here. Then we'll get to the main segment of the show. But we appreciate the questions.
Yeah.
Bob Cree says first 2 picks in this year's dynasty draft. Am I crazy to take Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. instead of spending 1 pick on Caleb Williams? I need both, but I have the 110 as well. It really depends on if it's a super flex. I think you have to take it. At least have to take Caleb if you have the first 2 picks, and then I would lean Marvin Harrison Jr. because he's got a more insulated situation at quarterback. We don't know what's going to happen with the Giants. I mean, Daniel Jones and the whole front office could not be there next year. We know Kyler Murray is probably going to be there.
Yeah, I mean the context of the question, like my first thing I thought of was, well, one, like you said, Pete, is it super flex? But 2,
right,
who are your quarterbacks right now? So if you think you can get away with it, then I would take both receivers and I would roll the dice on, because you're talking about if those 2 wide receivers hit, which I know there tends to be duds sometimes, but if those 2 guys hit and you have them in a dynasty league, I mean, you're going to be sitting pretty for a long damn time.
But
probably for as long as that league runs.
I would probably take 1 pick and then trade down.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what I mean. Or take that 101 with you would take with Caleb and trade it for. You could probably get a superstar wide receiver who's already established rather than taking a chance on 2 rookies at that point.
Was that question from Jesse? Because he just followed up with another comment.
That was Bob Cree.
It was Bob. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
All right, never mind. My bad. Yeah. Well,
okay.
I mean, I would roll the dice on 2 receivers. So.
What else do we got here? Gavin, just more speculation. He says, with the hip drop tackle being banned, which players are going to be better in fantasy? I'm going to say DK Metcalf. Yeah, I think bigger guys. I think the tight ends will probably benefit the most.
Yeah.
I think the tight ends will probably get a couple more yards after contact because they're the hardest to bring down, to be honest.
Derrick Henry's stiff arms may go up this year. We'll see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Pancho Zapata. I don't hope I said that right. I don't know why I said that. Try to make it in like an accent.
Zapata.
Just say it as fast as you can and whip right through it.
Rookies with the most potential. That's a hard one. I don't know. I mean, is it for this year? Is it for Dynasty?
Ricky Pearsall. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I mean, if you want to follow back, Poncho, maybe just give us a little more context of what you're asking for. Brett, one of our moderators, says, who's the quarterback 1 this year? What's up, boys? Hoff said Mahomes.
Pat Mahomes.
Yeah. Anthony says Mahomes. Me and Steve both agree Allen.
There was a stat. I was actually driving today. There was a stat. I was listening to the CBS Fantasy Football podcast, and they said that there hasn't been I forget if it was a 4-point or 6-point per touchdown pass league, but there hasn't been a quarterback who's finished back-to-back number 1 in the last 20 years. Last one to do it was Peyton Manning.
Wow.
In what?
Yeah.
I
forget if it was for 4-point per passing touchdown or 6.
Yeah.
But a quarterback has never finished as a quarterback 1 in back-to-back years for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, because Allen's done it like 3 times, hasn't he?
I don't know if it was back
generally,
but not in back-to-back years.
Jalen was the year before,
like consecutively,
2 years ago. Yeah, consecutively. That makes sense.
Consecutively. And again, I forget the most important part if it was 4 or 6 passing touchdowns, but CBS is usually
might be 6. Might be 6.
Yeah, it might be 6. Yeah, might be. Yeah.
So we got one more here. I figured I'll ask Anthony, and then Steve can answer the next one here from Alanis. Anthony's pretty good with giving his strategy. So he says, what would be your strategy from the 9 spot in a 12-team PPR league, Anthony?
So 9 spot, and this is something I just recently drafted in a best ball. So I'm either taking one of the 2 running backs, not named Christian McCaffrey. So if I can get Bijan or Brees to fall to me, or I like AJ Brown a lot. I'm very high on AJ Brown. I'm very high on this Philly offense. And I get AJ Brown might seem like a reach, but he's a player. We know he's an alpha. We know he's a stud. That Eagles offense fell off down the stretch. He was on pace to have a monster year last year. I love the addition of Kellen Moore coming over. And Philly's defense is going to be a work in progress. I like the DC, but a lot of young talent. They're going to have to throw a lot to stay in games and to win. I think that all benefits A.J. Brown. So either Brown or one of the 2 running backs if one falls.
Okay. Steve, this one's from Alanis Randy. He says, or she says, Can't really tell. There's a guy and a girl in the picture. Currently got the 7th overall pick in a 10-man league. Let's just assume it's PPR because he didn't give us standard or PPR. Currently picking at the 7th spot in a 10-man league. Who would you go with first?
You might be able to get Brees there. If Brees is still around hovering, I would take him. If not, if you're looking at it, you're probably looking at a receiver. So maybe a Mara or AJ or even Garrett. I don't mind.
Yeah.
Chase could be sitting there too. I mean, it's tough, but I would say Brees Hall if he's sitting there at the 7th spot for sure.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you because I think in a 10-man league, elite talent's more important, and there's less players going off the board by the time it comes back to you. So there's a good chance we all feel pretty confident Brees is in the top 3. Wide receiver could be a crapshoot. We don't know past the first couple of guys, and so it's a good chance you get a guy on the way back that could be a top 5 receiver in a 10-man. So just a few more here. Brandon Nunley, Hoff, why don't you take this one? It's another question. He said, who do I take with the 2nd overall pick?
I mean, if CMC's not taken with the first pick, I'd take him. If not, if after that, I go CD Lamb. I know that's very much carbon copy, but again, like I said, I have them both ranked as my number 1.
Okay. He says he's in an 8-man league. I don't know if that changes anything for
league.
you.
The first thing you need to do is you need to tell your friends, listen, I need a 10 to 12. This 8, I referenced soft porn earlier. 8-man league, that's soft porn, man. Come on now. And Brandon, if that's your league, just do the right thing. Find 2 more.
Get one of your friends that never played before. Get them in the league, and then you make trades with them. And then you can run the league.
Heck, I'll join your league just to make sure it's not 8-man. That's it.
All right. One more. We got 2 more questions here. One is going to, I'll take it because this is something that we've been discussing. I know Anthony's going to want to talk about it, but it says from Jesse Alleman. We appreciate it, Jesse. He says Dynasty Super or
non-tight end.
He or she Dynasty Superflex non-tight end premium. I traded Kincaid for Christian Kirk and a top 3 2025 first-round pick. Is that fair? With Knox still in Buffalo, I don't have Kincaid as high as most. I would still say not enough. I would probably lean the Kincaid side, which is I'm not down on Kincaid. I just prefer some other guys ahead of him. But in a tight end premium with his age and
it's non-premium,
non-tight end.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Yeah. With his age, either non-premium still, with his age, and I know you think it's going to be a top 3, but a lot of things change from now until then. And there's a chance it's not. And I'd still probably prefer the Kincaid side. I don't know how you guys feel, but that would be where I lean.
It's tough for me. I don't know enough about the 2025 class, but it could certainly work out for you. You're getting Kirk, and then maybe you smash with one of those top 3 picks. So could work out. Maybe if you have a shitty tight end, besides Kincaid, it's not the best move. But if you can end up with somebody good, you could smash. It could work out. But I love Kincaid. I think he's got a great future there in Buffalo. So for Dynasty, I think he's gold right now.
Okay.
Yeah. I would agree. That's it. Keep going.
John McGlynn, Anthony's buddy John. He says just traded away Deshaun Watson into 5 points, so not 4, not 6, 5. 5 points per passing touchdown to get Brock Bowers, Anthony's favorite guy. In a Superflex tight end premium, 0.75 is the premium. He said he has Mahomes, and I believe he might be fat thumb the next couple of characters here. He said Josh Allen and no tight ends. Did I make a mistake? So he gave up Watson, and it appears he has Mahomes and Josh Allen. There's a lot of jumbled up characters in between that, but I'm just going to assume he's got both of those quarterbacks. And he's saying that he got Brock Bowers back. He said he doesn't have any tight ends.
He said, "Did I make a mistake?" You made a mistake with some of your typos.
So he flipped Watson basically for Bowers,
and it's a tight end premium 0.75.
That I will sign off on because it's Dynasty. It's Dynasty.
All right.
It's Dynasty. It's tight end premium. The Raiders will be addressing that quarterback position in 2025.
1,000%. Yes.
I don't
you're
like Bowers in redraft this year. Long term, if they get a quarterback, fine. There's even a chance Devontae Adams gets traded, and that opens up targets immediately for Brock Bowers. But if you're flipping Deshaun Watson, he's I don't want to call him a project, but like when you have the quarterback room that you do, and you need tight end help long term in Dynasty, that's a great move.
Yeah.
Great deal. I'm just going to say really quick, only because I've talked way too much Brandon Ayuk. I just got to put this PSA out there. It's really quick. This is going to take 10 seconds. If he does get traded, because there is a rumor that there's a player on a move from our guy, Ricky.
Pretty Ricky.
Yep. Pretty Ricky's pretty damn good. Anyway, if Brandon Ayuk gets traded, the only trade I'll be happy with is if it's for Devontae Adams. Besides that, I will be annoyed because you want to win a Super Bowl this year because you don't have much time left.
What about a little Chase Claypool coming your way?
Fuck that. What the fuck is that? Chase Claypool. Steve, I would rather have you playing wide receiver. Chase Claypool.
Fucking start trading right now.
Cock, ball.
That's it, man.
By the way, Jesse came back in here. He said he had Laporta in regards to the Kincaid for the top 3 2025 pick.
Yeah, you make that pick. Make that.
So
pick.
that makes more sense. We have a couple more questions. Let's get to some of our picks, guys. Just hang on with us. If you're here on YouTube, hit us with a like. If you're here on Facebook, like the show. Subscribe on YouTube if you're not already. One more thing. Aaron Schill said that we should have a ticker every time Anthony hits his vape on the show, where it's just adding up on the show as we go. So
1,000%.
Something to keep in mind.
I could
it
make
would have helped if
he
commented in the comment section, actually.
That is true.
Here we go with this shit now.
Why don't we go there? So to worry about my fucking vape count.
Here we go with this now. All right. Anyway, I would just say
take us overall throughout the vape count. That's coming out next show.
This is a more of a behind the scenes
DraftKings boost on my vape count.
This is more of a behind the scenes statement, but I'll just say this. If these shows are going to be cooking with this many questions, we should just do a question show.
Yeah.
Help everybody out. No, I'm just putting that out there. But
maybe honestly, Friday could just be training camp notes and questions. If there's going to be a lot of people here on Facebook, just do that.
Just want to keep people coming back. Anyway, all right, we'll get to our next player. Anthony mentioned him 1,000 times when he was trying to talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. It's Mr. DeAndre Hopkins. He's currently up 6.1 spots to 89.4. Steve, I'm going to go to you first on this one because I don't think I've gone to you first yet. So we're going to do that right now. What are your thoughts on Mr. DeAndre Hopkins moving up again? Like I said, 6.1 spots. Are you interested? Are you buying into the Titans passing attack this year?
Yeah, certainly. They're going to be slinging the rock a lot this year with Willie Levis, Willie Levis, Willie Fubu's, whatever you want to call them. And I've said in the past few shows, it could be like a Jameis type season where, maybe he's throwing, upwards of 20 something picks, but we could get, 25, 30 touchdowns from him as well. So, they bring Ridley in, they bring Tyler Boyd in as well. But I still think, DeAndre Hopkins is the best receiver in that room, 32 years old, getting a little up there, but he was never like a guy that was going to separate anyway. He's always a guy that's just going to win with his physicality, win those 50-50 balls. So I still think he can get the job done even at this age. He's got a few solid seasons left. So, yeah, I like getting DeAndre Hopkins. I think the Titans really, with this new regime change, are just going to throw the ball a lot more. So I don't mind it.
Anthony, what says you? Go ahead. Go, Pete. No, you go, Pete. Go.
Are you sure?
I am more than positive.
All right. So I've been pretty adamant, Calvin Ridley is a my guy kind of player, but Hopkins, I believe they're similar in terms of their ADP. I don't have Ridley pulled up right now in his ADP, but what I would say is some things to keep in mind with Hopkins is Hopkins actually was in the top 20 for unlucky wide receivers by depth adjusted catchable target rating.
Yeah, the air yards going 20 feet over his head from food.
Yeah. And his catchable deep target rate ranked 11th worst last season. But despite all that, he finished top 10 in total target share and passing volume. It should go up. I mean, The Titans were 30th in the NFL for passing attempts last season. They bring in, the OC from the Bengals, and the Bengals were 8th in terms of passing volume last year. So I think there's enough to go around. I think Hopkins is still pretty affordable. I like both him and Ridley, honestly, at their cost. I'm totally fine grabbing either of them. I wasn't super in on Hopkins, but the more I read into his stats and dig in a little bit into his metrics for last year, he's still got juice. So I'm comfortable taking him at his current ADP.
Anthony, before you go, I just had to put these 2 comments up. Jamie said Anthony is easily simulated when it comes to his pizza and OnlyFans page. So there you go. So you got that going for you. There they are. There are those happy kids at the party. We're going to get sued soon. And then also Joe Carlton said, is it at least a vape that gives you a buzz? Anthony?
No, it's just a regular low nicotine tobacco vape. I do partake in, I smoke weed.
Jimmy
Which
smokes.
is the 3rd time I'll say soft porn.
Anyway.
Go ahead. Tell me
The vaping is the only vice I have left. That and my smelling salts. That's all I have left. I don't really do much else.
Sure.
Wow.
Anyway, I just give him a reason.
I don't drink like that.
Not unless it has an umbrella in it. Anyway, Anthony, tell us about Mr. DeAndre Hopkins.
All right. So DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, right? You really have to pick your poison. They're both going fairly close. I would say I have it in front of me right now, within a few spots, within 5 spots of each other right now. Who would you rather have tied to Will Levis? Because I'm very much in on this Titans offense. Not that I believe in Will Levis. He didn't really give us a lot to believe in. I believe in Brian Callahan. I believe in his father coming over to run the offensive line. I believe that this Titans front office, they want to get as far away as the Mike Vrabel era as they can. And they did that this offseason by completely flipping from a run-heavy defensive team, or at least what they tried to be, and they want to throw the football. They brought in not only Tyler Boyd, they brought in Ridley. They addressed the offensive line with top 10 picks in back-to-back years. You know that Callahan, they throw the football. They threw the football a lot, and I get it. It was with Joe Burrow. But they have the personnel around Will Levis to throw the ball top 10. And I know in Cincy, they were top 5 to 7 on a year-to-year basis in the Callahan system. So I'm going to buy into one of these guys. Now, how I'm going to handle this, I'll probably have a little bit of each. I play volume teams. I'll probably have a little bit of Ridley, a little bit of Hopkins. And that's how I'm going to play it. Like, I don't love either one. I don't have a flag planted on either side. Does Hopkins have a little bit more of an edge because he has a rapport? Sure. But Calvin Ridley, he was solid. Like, I was all in on Ridley last year. That blew up in my face. I still think he's a very, very good wide receiver. And I think coming off the suspension and that time away from football, I don't think I put enough of that in my evaluations last year, where now he's acclimated. He's with the new system, new team. So I'm going to buy into Ridley. I'm going to buy into Hopkins, just not on the same team.
Let me ask you though, how big of a disappointment was Calvin Ridley really last year? I mean,
he was frustrating. He was
fantasy receiver 17 though.
But he was for where you took. He started out like in the 4th round. Then towards the end of the season, going up like the second.
I was
second
all
round.
in on Ridley.
Yeah, I had a lot of Ridley last year. He was frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't touch him in the 2nd round last year, but I mean,
that's where he was going towards like the end, like going into.
So that would be equate to he was probably going as wide receiver. I don't know. You got to think maybe 14, 15 in that range, right? I mean, I would think. I don't know if he was. I think people just maybe expected more from him. I think Ridley looked fine last year, but I've already staked my claim on Ridley, so I don't need to go back into it. But I'm just a big Ridley guy, so.
I mean, it was when you look at the numbers. Yeah, it was 1,000 yards and he had 8 touchdowns.
Not playing for a year and a half.
Yeah, I just know it was just it was just frustrating. I just remember being fucking frustrating.
Well, to be fair, that whole Jags offense was frustrating last year.
They were.
Yeah. Yes, it was. All right, we can get into our next player. We'll go into Mr. Devon Achane. He's up 3.3 spots, currently sitting 23.4 as far as ADP. I'll speak on this first, and then whoever wants to take over can take over. I don't like drafting Devon Achane at that spot. Listen, is there a world where I'm going to be dead wrong on this? Obviously, absolutely, but I don't trust either back to stay healthy. But I also don't think, again, I've said this on the show multiple times, Raheem Mostert goes back to Mike McDaniels with the days of the 49ers when he was the running game coordinator. He is the most familiar person with this system that is in that running back room right now. So I don't think that, while I think Mostert's stats are going to dip for sure, I don't think he can recreate, what was that, 21 total touchdowns last year? He's not going to recreate that, but he's not going to go away either. So I think they're going to eat into each other, and they're both going to spend time being injured. I'm not willing to pay that price for Achane. I'm just not. And listen, if I'm wrong, come get me fantasy receipts. You guys know I love you, but yeah, no, I'm not in on it. So just so I don't do a jumble fuck here, Anthony, you could speak first. Devon Achane, are you buying into that? Again, he's up 3.3 spots, but what are you thinking?
Steve, you can attest to this. You were on the show last year at this time, or during draft time. I was all on an Achane from the day he was drafted through the offseason, injuries, training camp reports, and it paid off. I am fairly out on Devon Achane this year. A little bit in best ball, sure, because he does have that pop factor in those spike weeks. But in terms of, like, let's say FFPC or just your standard redraft league, I'm not going to have a ton of Devon Achane. He is way too volatile. And Miami, they kind of showed their hands bringing back Mostert and drafting Jalen Wright, who I believe is, Wright's going to be more of a future play because, how much longer is Raheem Mostert going to be there? But at least for this year, I don't think Raheem Mostert's going anywhere. And he does have a nose for the end zone, which we've seen. Mostert also has been able to stay healthy since coming from the Miami Dolphins. I get lengthy injury history with San Francisco, but
he got banged up at the end of the year. But you're right. You're right.
Right. You're right. So, and then Achane, if anything, he has the injury history. If we look at Devon Achane last year, preseason shoulder sprain, knee sprain in week 5, toe soreness, bruised ribs, week 14. There were also games like that New York Giants game. He had 20 PPR points in the first half, barely played in the second half, kind of got knocked out of that game. There were quite a few games where he was barely active because of injury. So, when we're looking at the price points, and again, this is, I think Devon Achane is a terrific player. His 5'9", 188 frame, that worries me. Can he take the beating? If we look, he had those spike weeks, week 3 against Denver, week 4 Buffalo, week 5 New York, 51, 27, 21. Rest of the season down the stretch, week 13 against Washington, he had 25. After that game, from weeks 14 to 18, he only had one more game over 12 PPR points. Or 2 over 12 PPR points. Week 18 against Buffalo, we had 13. Week 17 against Baltimore, he had 23. Couple of games under 10 PPR points. A lot of volatility here with Devon Achane. And what we're looking, or what can we get around him? Kyren Williams, Derrick Henry. I'm taking Derrick Henry, especially in redraft, almost every time. Over Devon Achane, maybe Kyren, but Kyren has a little bit of injury concern, and Travis Etienne is about that tier break for me. But when it comes to can I swallow that pill? It's hard for me to do in redraft, and I love the player. Just the situation, the injuries, Mostert just worries me a little bit. And also this offense, and I know ATL doesn't want to hear it. If Tua gets hurt, it's just like if Matthew Stafford gets hurt. This offense falls apart. So does all of his fantasy assets. And I say it about the Rams too. I'll say it about Miami. Tua goes down, the whole ship goes down.
And just before we kick it to Steve on this, you brought up Kyren Williams, and I think the reason why it would be an easier pill to swallow with, I think it's the decision's harder if it's Kyren Williams, because at least with him, yes, I know they drafted Blake Corum, but the competition is not as real with the Rams for Kyren as it is with the Dolphins and Devon Achane. So, so there is that. But Well, I think so. What? Mostert compared to Blake Corum?
I mean, Corum was true. We don't know what that role is going to be. Corum was outstanding in college.
Get out of here with that.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
right now he's the
Well,
starter.
go look up college reference and tell me all about it. But I'll tell you what I
All right.
saw last year from Mostert
All right.
in the same exact offense. I don't know. Whatever. Okay.
Yeah. Mostert still is the guy there. And what? He's 32, 33. I remember Dynasty a few years ago. I traded him, traded a third-round pick to get Mostert, and he got hurt once again. And I fucking always been a Mostert guy. Then last year I traded a third-round pick. I traded Mostert for a third-round pick, and I got absolutely fucked. And I didn't take too much. I didn't take enough Raheem Mostert last year, and he went apeshit on the league. That was his, due year after all these years of just getting hurt, not fooling, sharing in roles. So he doesn't have a lot of tread in the tires. I mean, I don't think he has one season with over like 250 carries. Never, so he's always been getting hurt. So he's fresh. This guy's a surfer out of New Smyrna, Florida. He's fucking athletic. I still think he could be a very high quality player. Achane, yeah, like I know the upside. It's fucking explosive. He could certainly be a beast, but second round, it's just I haven't clicked on it yet. Maybe in a home league, like third, fourth round, I kind of like that. But you're playing an underdog, you're playing in high stakes. Second round is just a little too expensive, but I see why people are chasing that upside to potentially win fantasy championships.
Pete, what says you, buddy?
Well, there's a lot that's already kind of been said about it. I'm not high on Achane, smaller back. He's dealt with injuries. I don't like to predict injuries, but the extended time where he comes back, gets hurt, comes back, gets hurt, like that always worries me. And he left a bunch of games early last year. I look, if Achane falls another round, which I don't think is going to happen, I'll be in on him, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, we've seen this before. Like, efficiency metrics are great and all, but when your efficiency metrics are off the charts, like Achane, this is the NFL. It ain't gonna stay like that forever. It's just not sustainable, right? And I don't think his volume goes up. I think Jalen Wright being an addition there is only gonna hurt him. And I'm not super happy with his price tag, and I'm not going to own him if he's going to be.
Yeah, basically you're saying Achane's going to take over for Mostert for the most part. They're going to find many more creative ways to get him, used in the offense, which McDaniel's already kind of referenced to. And then you're betting on a Mostert injury, which has plagued him throughout his career.
Which could happen
throughout last year. So, but I mean, you're betting on a lot of things, obviously. So second round again, it's tough.
Yeah.
I'm sure Pete has a couple of questions he wants to get to, but I do want to just mention Anthony. Anthony, did you hear what Pete said? He said, this is the NFL. So you tell Blake Corum that. This is the NFL.
Okay. But why do you hate Blake Corum?
I don't. I'm just having fun arguing with you. Again, I just texted Anthony privately. I think that we were born to argue. We were born to argue with each other about football.
I think that it is Kyron's job to lose.
Yes.
But like Kyron, he gets banged up a little bit. We saw that last year. What if Blake Corum comes in and he just smashes?
We do not care.
My
argument was himself onto the field.
But my argument was the competition's more fierce for Devon Achane with Raheem Mostert sitting there with 21 total touchdowns last year than it is for Kyron Williams with Blake Corum, who just walked in the door. I mean, is that not fucking fair?
I like Kyron. I'm with Hoff.
I don't dislike Kyron. I'm just putting the facts out there. I don't think we can totally. I'm not.
Kyron and Achane are pretty similarly priced. I'm going Kyron 90% of the time. In my opinion.
You take a vape, I'll take a drink. Pete, do we have any questions?
We have one. Well, we had two, but I'm not sure. It was a while ago. I'm not sure if they're still there. No. Looks like somebody helped answer. Ronaldo. No, it's fine. Ronaldo Torres is one of our mods too, and we appreciate it. It looks like he helped them out and answered them anyway. Yeah, so we got that. But Ray Barons says 10-person PPR. One keeper league, no factor in draft order. Kyron Williams or Saquon Barkley. I'll answer. I mean, I'm high on Saquon. I have him ranked as my RB4, I think, this year. Kyron, I think if I went to my rankings, I want to say Kyron Kyron's my 7th running back, so I'd have Saquon over Kyron. I wouldn't even think twice about it.
Well, the caveat is it's a keeper league, right?
Yeah.
So-
Well, and there's no ding
True.
on round that he took him. It's just straight.
Yeah, I still think I'd rather have Barkley just because I feel safer and trying to win a championship.
Yeah. But I think that's all the questions we have. We have I don't know how many we have 2-3 guys left. The second guy on the list I really want to talk about because he's my guy, so I definitely want to get to him. But
We'll speed it up. Well, let's do Kyle Pitts right now, and Kyle Pitts is up 5.4 spots. Right now, the ADP is 33.5. Steve, I'm going to go to you first in this one. I mean, it would make sense that he's up because optimism is high in the fantasy football community for the Atlanta Falcons, thanks to one Kirk Cousins and also no more Arthur Smith. So, Steve, what says you on Kyle Pitts moving up here, 33.5 ADP? What says you?
Man, Kyle Pitts it's just a tough one for me. I kind of banked on him a little bit last year, and that was off. But again, Desmond Ridder was a complete shit show. The quarterback Mariota was terrible. So obviously, we all know Kirk Cousins comes into town, and everything's supposed to get better, and it should definitely get better without a doubt. So Pitts should finally blossom. I mean, this should be the year, and you could wait and get him, at a pretty good value. I just haven't really done it yet. I don't know how much I'm going to do it because I like grabbing these other tight ends. So it's tough. It's tough for me right now, but I mean, I certainly see it. I don't know if when I watch Pitts sometimes it's like his route running isn't great. But the one thing I'll say is they try to throw a lot of deep balls to him in Atlanta in the past. So if they could just give him more layups and let him kind of create, and we should certainly see a little bit more of that. So that could help him a lot. And we should see that. So yeah, I don't mind if you want to go after Pitts. I think I'm cool with that. I just don't want. I want to have a lot of them personally.
Yeah. All right. I'll go to Anthony here, but Pete Ryan is saying, can he ask this question again? So if he does, we'll get to it right after we talk about Pitts. But Ryan, we'll definitely get to you if you ask that question or if we find it. But Anthony,
I'm looking for it. So ask away while you go to Anthony.
Yeah. Anthony, what says you on Kyle Pitts? Again, you're with me. You're with a lot of people. You're high on the Falcons this year. So what says you on Kyle Pitts?
I'm all in on Kyle Pitts. I get it. People have a bad taste in their mouth because Kyle Pitts has never really delivered on the hype. We go back to his rookie year. It did show some promise. Over 1,000 yards receiving, only one touchdown, kept his overall fantasy production down, but he did that with Marcus Mariota. Quarterback position regressed, as did Kyle Pitts. This is a completely different situation, and I'm all in on the Falcons offense, even Drake London. I get the people have the bad taste in their mouth about London. We wrote him in here. What changes for those two players in particular? Zach Robinson coming from that McVay tree. Kirk Cousins, who is familiar with the McVay tree, being with O'Connell in Minnesota. Look what Kirk Cousins did for TJ Hawkinson. Hawkinson comes over from the Lions, and Hawkinson pops, goes ballistic in fantasy. We know that Kirk Cousins can support alpha wide receivers like a Drake London, but let's focus on Kyle Pitts here. There's already reports that, Kyle Pitts, he's going to be lined up all over the formation. He's going to be a mismatched nightmare. You can line up out wide in the slot. You can move this guy around. And we know he's a playmaker. Again, going back to that rookie year, he did look like the hype player. It just wasn't the right situation. And let's say even if he did score a few touchdowns, he would have finished higher. I believe he was the tight end 11 in fantasy points per game that year at 10.4. Not many tight ends go over 1,000 yards in their rookie year. People love Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta didn't sniff 1,000 yards last year, and he was the overall tight end 1. So we know Kyle Pitts has it all, the OC, the quarterback, the talent. And I believe it's a now or never year. I never bought into Pitts because of the situation. I'm all in now because situation and quarterback changes my mind in fantasy. And I'm willing to go in. If we look at the players going around Kyle Pitts, I'll take Pitts over Engram. I'll take Pitts over Trey McBride. And I'll take Kyle Pitts probably over Dalton Kincaid. Doesn't mean I'm ranking.
For me.
I'm not reaching for them at their price.
Yeah,
but
well,
I will forego.
I think that's like the
drafting
only
that
thing
position.
preventing me from getting Pitts is those guys that go around him.
Yeah,
But are they going
tough.
around him? Pitts is going ADP in the 30s, and those other guys are going in the 20s. So you could wait around.
I would consider McBride, but I would take Dalton Kincaid over him. But I also get what you're saying. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah. But I mean, you could wait around, get Kittle, you could get Ferguson. Pitts is the upside there. It's still a question. He's like the question mark. All those other guys kind of like solid. You kind of know what to expect.
Oh, we know what to expect from Trey McBride. I forgot.
So, Pete, if you have any thoughts on Pitts, you can feel free to hand that over. And then also if you found that question from Ryan, you could feel free to throw that in there too. And then
I'll answer Ryan.
Last two players.
I'll pull up Ryan's. I don't need to talk about Pitts. Anthony and you guys covered it well. John has a question about the Broncos tight ends, which I can definitely shed some light on. So
right in your
I'll
wheelhouse.
get to that. But Ryan, thanks for waiting. He said, would you send Jalen Hurts, Kamara, and a 2026 second rounder for Lamar and a 2025 projected early first? He's at Dynasty, Superflex in win now mode. His other running backs are Breece, Etienne, Jacobs, and Ramondre. So he doesn't need Kamara. He's got Breece, Etienne, Jacobs, Ramondre, and he's saying he's going to send Hurts, Kamara, and a 2026 second. And he flips that for Lamar and a 2025 projected early first. Honestly, I still probably I don't think I would do it just because I have Hurts over Lamar in Dynasty and in redraft. And if you're in win now, I think Lamar is going to be good for fantasy, but I don't think I'm giving up Kamara and a 2 just to flip for Lamar and get an early first that you don't know. It's projected. So I don't think I do that.
As much as I want to say yes to that deal. Yeah, as much as I want to say yes to that deal, I don't think I would do it either. I mean, I think Hurts will be more consistent than Lamar. Again, we're whatever. We're grasping at straws here because those guys are so close. But I think Jalen will be more consistent. So I think I would just stay where you are, honestly.
I agree.
Yeah. I don't think you need to force any of that.
Yeah.
All right. Let me answer John's. Then we'll get to our next guy. John says, what's with all the Lucas Kroll love over Greg Dulcich in Denver? Any truth in that Kroll is a sleeper stash? Yeah. So Lucas Kroll, an athletic freak, he comes over from the Saints. Sean Payton had a relationship, obviously, with the Saints. They brought him in last year as a stash. He had a really good. I think he led preseason with receptions for tight ends last year or something like that. So yeah, he's an athletic guy, but I think the hype was a little much on Kroll because people were just expecting that Greg Dulcich was just going to die because of the injuries. If Greg Dulcich is healthy, I think he's going to be possibly a top 15 tight end this year in fantasy is my guess if he plays a full season healthy. We know the talent's there and all the reports, Greg Dulcich has been phenomenal in camp so far. And Sean Payton loves his tight ends. And he was salivating over Dulcich when he got here. So that should maybe answer a little bit of that. And we can move over to our next guy.
Yes, we will. And that next player is Mr. Christian Watson, up 8.8 spots. Right now, his ADP is 83.8. You know, the Green Bay Packers wide receiver room is a very interesting thing, trying to navigate in terms of fantasy football. You know, it's one thing to do DFS and, say, I'll take Watson this week. I'll take Dobson next week. But to buy in for season long, I feel like some of these guys might eat into each other a bit. But either way, Watson is up 8.8 spots. Pete, I think you said you wanted to discuss Watson because he was your guy. I mean, you were out of the conversation on Pitts, and I'm sure that upset you very much. So,
Well, I know Anthony likes Pitts. I saw his tweet, and I know Steve does too. So I figured let them hash it out. I have I flag plan on 3 guys so far this year at their cost: Christian Watson, Josh Downs, and it's amazing I said 3 guys and I can't think of the third. But Christian Watson and Josh Downs are guys that I love at their price this year. From a health standpoint, I did some digging into some of the fantasy doctors, right? Watson, there was like that 20% strength asymmetry in 2023, which essentially meant that one of his legs was literally 20% larger than the other. So it's no shock that he was pretty much probably overcompensating for the other leg, and that probably led to a lot of hamstring injuries. That makes a ton of sense. It's down to below 10%, which the fantasy doctors say is drastically lowers his risk of re-injuring. So I'm buying into Christian Watson this year. Some information. You have Jaden Reed, who's going over Christian Watson. Last year in 3 wide receiver sets, Jaden Reed was on the field for 90% of the snaps. Christian Watson, 75. Now, Watson, I think he left some games early, but whatever. The point is, in 2 wide receiver sets, do you know who was the lowest percentage on the field out of all their wide receivers? Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed was on the field for 3% of the snaps. 3% of the snaps. That is scary, guys. I mean, at the cost that he's going for, the number 1 wide receiver in this offense, and he was on the field 3% of the time last year. I mean, that's insane. Christian Watson's a guy, he can be in there 3 wide receiver sets, 2 wide receiver sets. He's the guy that's the favorite target in the offense, right? I mean, his end zone target share was 50% last season, which was one of the highest in the leagues. When he's on the field, like, he is the number 1 receiver in this offense. He led the receivers in targets. He led in yards. He led in red zone usage. He scored 5 touchdowns inside the red zone in the 9 games that he was healthy last year. He scored 4 touchdowns from week 11 to 13. And I got that from my guy, Dynasty Dad, on Twitter. So, like, this guy is the guy to own in this offense. From weeks 4 to 13, he was the red zone targeted 13 times. That was 6th in the NFL from weeks 4 to 13 last year. 6th. And all reports say that I'm reading, Christian Watson is having an awesome camp. He's had at least at least one 40-yard catch, it seems like, in every single training camp practice. I buy into the hype. I'm willing to be let down. If Christian Watson doesn't pan out at 83.8 at his ADP, he's not going to crush my team. And this is a guy that I truly feel like, if he's healthy, can at least sustain a mid wide receiver 2, and getting that at 83.8 in his ADP is a smash for me. And I'm willing to take the chance if he gets hurt. So
there's a reason why I pitched that to Pete first, because Pete was clearly ready to roll. I mean,
that was almost as long as Trump's speech. There
you go. Politics creeped in.
I want to add something here, because I've also been buying into Christian Watson heavily. Really, since there was a report that came out, I believe, end of May, and on the RotoWire show with Jim Coventry, he talks about it a lot. I did my own research. So, Christian Watson, his recurring injury has been the hamstring. So he underwent tests, and I'm pulling it up now. There was a hamstring study at the University of Wisconsin. The study is part of a $4 million grant from the NFL to study hamstring injuries and ways to treat and prevent them from recurring. According to Watson, this is from his own mouth, the group of doctors found a large imbalance between the size of his legs, so an asymmetry in his legs. I'm not going to go through all the medical stuff, but basically they want him to get down his leg symmetry, because it's almost impossible to get them around the same size, but they want to get his legs around 6% in symmetry of each other. So this is a reason why to believe, hey, if there's ever a season to buy in, if there's ever a reason why to believe, hey, this guy can stay healthy, he's being proactive about his health and trying to stay on the field. And like Pete, I believe if he's healthy, he's the only receiver on the Green Bay Packers who I believe could be an alpha in this offense. So that's check out look up this medical stuff. It's kind of cool, interesting that the NFL is doing this, and that there are players who have these injuries trying to keep themselves on the field.
Steve, if you had something to provide on Christian Watson, you can. If not, I'll kick the next player to you. It's up to you.
Yeah, it's all about him staying healthy, and all reports indicating that Dr. Anthony and Dr. Peaches went over. He's fucking got it going. So yeah, I'm buying in. I'm kind of passing on Reed, but don't sleep on Romeo Dobbs and Dontavian Wicks too. I mean, these guys you can get even later, a couple rounds later. And I think Jordan Love and that stack I've talked about this countless times. I think they're going to be one of the best offenses in the NFL this year.
And again, I think I said it earlier, but I've referenced DFS a few times. I do think if they're riding a wave of a certain wide receiver, I love this for DFS. These Packers wide receivers, I will be buying into them because they're probably going to come in at not a big cost. But again, I'm rambling about DFS, but we'll do some DFS. Me and Steve are going to do some shit during the regular season. The last player we'll get to, which Steve, I will go to you first on this one though, because why the hell not? Mr. Rashee Rice. Up 25 spots. My goodness gracious. 74.2 is the ADP right now. So, Steve, it's always kind of hard to predict which wide receiver is going to produce in Kansas City. I mean, we always know the tight end's going to produce. But Rashee Rice, what are we thinking about him? What are your thoughts on his cost? Again, ADP 74.2. What says you?
Yeah, I mean, he's a tough one to predict right now because we don't really know we don't have any news. And they asked Andy Reid recently what's happening with Rashee Rice. There was really no answers. We don't really know yet. Could happen sometime this year, could happen next year. But if you take him now and he's not suspended this year, he's going to be a great value. So we've seen that in the past. Last year, Kamara was kind of the guy. He ended up getting the 3 games, but he was still a great value. So, yeah, I mean, I've been taking Rice. I've been going after him. It took a little while, like I mentioned before, to get involved into the offense. Probably should have happened a little bit sooner because we saw the signs that he was the best receiver on the team. And once he got that fully entrenched role, he just went, absolutely hot down the stretch, won fantasy championships. So yeah, I got him for like $1 in one of my keeper auction leagues, and
Wow.
I'm probably going to keep him. Why not? I mean, even if he gets suspended, this year, next year, I'll keep him. So yeah, I like Rashee Rice. Obviously, he was a smash with the Chiefs last year. I think it's going to take Worthy a little bit while to get involved anyway. Hollywood Brown in his first year, also on the offense. Mahomes could take a step up with his passing touchdowns, regardless. So I think, yeah, you take the gamble and you get yourself some Rashee Rice.
And just quickly before I go to Anthony, to Gustavo's point, he thinks they're going to wait till next season as far as a suspension for Rice, which I agree too. I tend to agree. I think Anthony agrees, but Anthony, what says you? Rashee Rice, how we doing?
Yeah, before the off season, before the off the field stuff, before they brought in Worthy and Marquise Brown, people remember Rice was going late second, right around a 3rd round pick. And then we see the big spike after everything goes down. Now, when it comes to Rice, if we saw him break out late down the stretch when it mattered most for Kansas City. He earned the trust of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. That's very important. He already has that rapport of Patrick Mahomes, even though they brought in 2 new receivers. That is still a work in progress. Now, I do believe the biggest thorn in Rice's side is probably Marquise Brown, because Marquise Brown has flashed in the past. And I think this is a guy with Patrick Mahomes. He can absolutely go ballistic with his speed. Now, I'm still taking Rice as the number 1 Chiefs receiver off my draft board, and I will draft him over those other 2. But I am also sprinkling on Hollywood Brown. I just want to put that out there. When it comes to the suspension, I don't see it happening this year. If we read it between the lines, going back to the NFL draft, during that weekend, Ian Rappaport and NFL Network said there is a chance the suspension comes in 2025. Rice's court date has been set for December 9th. The NFL normally does not do their thing with an off the field. Like they wait for the court and everything else to go through everything. Right. Whatever. Sure. You know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so if that happens in December, he's going to probably be clear through the rest of the fantasy football season and probably through the Super Bowl. Recently, the Chiefs owner said he has no word on the NFL on any type of suspension. If you're the NFL, and I know me and Pete brought this up on the show, we did. The NFL, what's really good for business? The Chiefs chasing a 3-peat. Is it good for Rashee Rice to get suspended, or is it bad for business for Rice to get suspended? That's a conspiracy theory, but I'm just saying it's better for the NFL.
I don't even think that's
Rice on the field.
that's not that tinfoil hat. I mean, you figure December. So, I mean, would the NFL be dumb enough to suspend Rice when the Chiefs are in the playoffs? Like, and then what come? Like, I just don't see that happening.
Right.
Like two guys drinking bourbon at dinner, talking about fucking Rashee Rice. What we're gonna do with him?
The other thing, though, I'll just say, while I'm not calling for tinfoil hats, I will just say, Rashee Rice potentially getting suspended is not as dramatic to the Chiefs as, say, if it was, say, Travis Kelce. You know, that's all I'm pointing out. But I'm not diminishing what you're saying. Like that could probably be a thing. Because the NFL, obviously, with the Taylor Swift shit, like they were all about him. That said, I don't want to come off being a Niner fan saying that because, I mean, Niners lost that game fair and square. But they made it there. The Cowboys didn't,
I can just hear this theme going, and you see just Taylor Swift in the press box while Rashee Rice is catching touchdowns.
He's got the sound drops. He's got to do it.
I'm just saying, it just feels right for the NFL. I don't see them calling for a suspension at this.
We're gonna get Pete a free Rashee shirt.
Sure.
We have one more question from Gustavo since he came in, and we appreciate it. This is our last question, so we appreciate it. We're at an hour 15. He says, "Where do you guys stand on the Texans wide receivers?" I'll let one of you guys take this.
Anthony?
I'm in on Nico Collins. We talked about this earlier. I brought up the contract situation. They brought in Stephon Diggs. People are kind of worried about, is Diggs going to be the guy and knock out Nico Collins? It doesn't make sense because Stephon Diggs is on a 1-year deal. They finally paid Nico, and that tells us everything we need to know. They view Nico Collins as the future and the alpha in this wide receiver room. And then the other two guys are going to be getting the rest. Like, I don't see a world where it doesn't logically make sense where Stephon Diggs comes in and they're going to say, okay, Nico, we're going to pay you. You're going to take a backseat to Stephon Diggs for a year, and then we'll rope you back into the one in 2025. It's not logical. So Diggs is going to have an impact. Tank Dell's going to have an impact, but when it comes to who you want to buy into as the alpha, as the true number one, I'm in on Nico Collins. Now, there is an injury concern. Nico, I don't believe, has ever played a full season in the NFL without being banged up. We have to put that out there, but I'm very willing to pay his cost ADP-wise.
Yeah, I think the only question you say is why take Nico in the second when I can get Dell in the fifth? But I mean, I guess you could say Nico has a little bit more potential to be that true alpha. Yeah. But I mean, even Dell had 5 touchdowns, in his last 4 games before he went down with that injury. He was just starting to get really, really hot. 11 targets, 14 targets. So, yeah, I got some Nico already, but I can understand the argument. You wait and you just grab Tank Dell. I haven't got any Diggs. I'm kind of just over Diggs.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it's just
no. I
get bad vibes.
Me too.
I get it. No, I was just gonna say I keep referencing it, but like if it's best,
he gives me Antonio Brown vibes.
More.
I know that's a little extreme. He gives me just
that
like
is extreme.
He gives me like I remember AB when AB was on the Steelers, all egotistical. Like AB was a nice guy, but he was very about himself. Like I don't know.
Interesting though.
Diggs just gives me those kinds of vibes. I know it's a crazy thing to say, but
no, not you, Anthony, not you. Well, I have an opportunity to pick on Anthony. I find that interesting. You hate Diggs, but you think, does he hate Diggs, Pete? Steve, does he hate Diggs?
I don't think he likes Diggs. I don't think he likes Diggs. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Why?
But he likes AB.
But he likes AB.
Why do I hate Stephon in fantasy? I'm not in love with him this year.
Weird.
Why do I hate Stephon Diggs?
Just maybe it's something for another show. Some intrigue to keep people coming back for more.
What the
As Anthony
balls.
Why do God damn it, Pete. You know what? You did a great job answering questions today, but you've got Tourette's with the sound drops. I'll tell you that.
All right. I love it.
He loves balls, like you said.
Yes, we're done.
He loves balls.
We're done. Anthony's going to be mad at me now. I'm just kidding. Anthony's never gets mad, I don't think.
But number one, you played the sound drops. The volume's way too high here.
Also, why are we playing that music?
Anthony said that he wanted
I
that
like
to
it
be
as an
our
outro
soundbar.
music, but you got to,
Guys,
if you're going to use a soundboard, you need to know how to use a soundboard. And
It's not
there's
that loud.
volume. It was very
Guys,
loud.
we gotta. I
Is it loud,
apologize
Steve?
to the podcast listeners, the YouTube listeners. We got to have an intervention with Pete.
Oh, God.
Someone's gonna say, Pete, it affects me when you use sound drops like this. Diggs is part
it's
of the
probably because I don't have
Illuminati.
my
Maybe it is, right?
I don't have my headphones on when I do
Mhm.
the show anymore, and I
Okay.
probably can't really tell that it's that loud, to be honest.
That's perfect. Yes. Okay. Maybe now we have some clarity. Anyway, all right. So we're done today. I will tell everybody, thank you for watching. We appreciate all your questions. Listen, if you're somebody who listens in podcast format and if you want to get involved, maybe you have fantasy football questions, go over to YouTube, hit subscribe, like some of our videos. You'll be notified when we go live. Once you subscribe, you hit the bell icon, and we'll be able to help you out throughout the whole fantasy football season. We answer everybody else's questions. We'll answer yours too. But I think that's going to do it for today. So until next time, stay thirsty, be kind to one another. We'll catch you on the flip side. Cheers.